Hey everybody, it's Byron the Dragon King, and we're back with a brand new video. In this video, we're going to be talking about another story of mine from when I was a kid. This one, I was 13 back in the spring of 2012, and it's the story of how I almost fucking drowned. Yay! Alright, so let me set the stage here. So, back when I was 13, I was living in my first foster home, and I was in middle school. And my foster parents were both over 70, boomers, if you would, except one of them, I think, was born right before the baby boom, but that's not important. And they were a bit old-fashioned when it came to my hobbies, so to say. They had these weird rules, one of them was oh, you can't play video games during the week because of school. Even if you do all your homework, you can't play video games. And then on the weekends, you can only play video games for 2 hours a day, which, especially during the summertime when there's nothing to do, it's dude, what am I going to do with 2 hours a day? And I didn't have a smartphone back then. I didn't have an iPod Touch or anything. I didn't have a laptop. I couldn't go on the internet. So it's okay, once those 2 hours are up, what do? I can watch TV, or I can read, I guess, or I can go outside. And I think that's what they wanted me to do. They're oh, back in my day, we'd go play down by the creek and go down the old swimming hole and other cliche fucking cringe boomer shit. And it's oh, hey guys, I don't really want to go out today. Can I just play video games? No. It's oh, okay. So this story takes place the school year is still going on, and it's the weekend. And my foster dad's Bailey, you need to go outside. You need to go do something. I'm okay, whatever. And it was really hot out. So I was maybe I'll go down to the lake. So the lake was so close to my house. Well, kind of close. So my house was in town, but it was near the state park and the lake. I think it's called Lake Stewart. Anyways, by Mount Horeb. And so I rode my bike down to the lake, and the whole way is downhill. So I'm just zooming downhill. I'm just going so fucking fast. It's man, I hope I don't die. And of course, I'm not wearing a helmet, because why would I? I'm a dumb kid. But luckily, I'm not a daredevil fucking going full speed. I'm I'm easing on the brakes. I'm ooh, that's going too fast, time to slow down. So, after about 5 minutes, I get down to the lake, and I'm oh, I'm gonna, go over here by, around the lake. For whatever reason, I don't know. I'm a dumb kid, and I'm bored, and it's hot, and it's let's go, around the lake. And, my bike wasn't, a mountain bike or anything, so it didn't have gears. So, going up and down these trails around the lake, on a shitty, a bike that doesn't have gears or anything is a lot of work. And I always told my foster parents, hey, guys, can you get me, a bike with gears? And they're well, the previous foster kid loved these bikes because they have pegs. And it's yeah, the pegs are cool and all, but, I don't know, man. I kind of wish I had some gears that, helped me get from A to B, you know? But they never listened. So, I'm, going around, and I'm, halfway between, one side of the lake and the other, and I decide, hey, I'm gonna just ditch my bike in the woods here near the path, and so that's what I do. And then I'm oh, man, what should I do? It's so hot out. It's spring. It's here in Wisconsin, the spring sometimes, it gets so fucking hot, and then a week later it'll be ice cold again. But it was so hot out, And like, I don't know, I'm just a warm person in general, so when it's warm out, I just kind of die, and I'm like, fuck, dude, how am I gonna cool off? It's so hot, I don't have a water bottle, there's no soda machine, I don't have any change or anything. How am I gonna cool down? And that's when I realized, hey, why don't I go swimming? I can swim across the lake, practice my swimming skills, it'll be fun. What I didn't realize is the lake had just melted, like there was still ice on it a week ago. So I take my shoes off, I take my socks off, and I still have my pants on and like my underwear and my shirt, because like this is a public park and shit and I don't want to be naked. So I'm like, okay, let's swim across the lake. So I put one foot in. I'm like, holy shit, it's cold. I put the other foot in. Oh man, I'm so fucking cold. And I'm like, okay, maybe if I just keep walking. Because like when you go to the pool or something and like you first like put your foot in the water, you're like, oh, that's cold. I'm like, maybe if I just keep walking, my body will get acclimated and then like it won't be so bad. I get up to like my waist and I'm just like, this is really fucking cold, man. What's going on? So then, in my genius 13-year-old mind, I was like, okay, fuck it. Let's just send it. Let's just go and start swimming. So, I think this was like the first or maybe the second time I ever did the breaststroke. Funny enough, I learned how to do the breaststroke not from swim lessons that I was in for years, no, but from playing Mario 64. So I'm like, I like jump in, like lean in, and then I start doing the breaststroke, and I'm like, oh, this is cold, and I'm doing the breaststroke, stroke, and I'm like, I'm about a third of the way through the lake, and I'm like, wow, I am so fucking cold right now. And at this point I realized this was a major mistake and I regretted my life. So what did I do? I was like, well, fuck, I can't tell how far back I would have to go. Might as well go the rest of the way. So I keep swimming. And for some of you who might be asking, why don't you do like, I forget the stroke name, the one where you like, you move like left side, right side, you switch sides for breathing. I'm really bad at that. I couldn't get that down in swim lessons. I'm just not good at it. So I was like, I'll do the breaststroke. And I'm like halfway. And at this point, I'm like, oh, I can't do this anymore. I haven't swam since last summer. I'm out of shape because I don't swim, I don't really run or anything. I have exercise-induced asthma. I think I'm gonna die. And so I sat there for like a few seconds and I'm like, should I just let myself drown? Would that be easier than struggling and drowning anyways? Like, should I just fucking let the cold embrace of death take me? And then I was like, how deep is this lake? And I remember someone telling me the lake was actually deep, and I was like, fuck, okay. And I was like, ugh, I don't really want to be found drowned in the lake. And I'm like, okay, how do I get over there? And like thoughts are rushing through my head. It's kind of like the movie Limitless when like I think he's getting beat up in the subway or some shit, and just a bunch of random information was like rushing through his head from like self-defense videos he watched on late night TV. So I'm like thinking, do I do the jellyfish float to like try to like conserve energy and like maybe let my muscles rest? And I was like, no. The cold is just going to take away any energy I have if I just sit here. I'm like, okay. I can't keep doing the breaststroke. I'm too tired. I can't do that. I'm thinking. And then I realize, oh my God, I know what I need to do. So I decided I was going to do the backstroke. So I rolled over onto my back and I started doing the backstroke. And I'm just doing that. And like to keep myself going, I'm just repeating the phrase that I learned in swim lessons years prior when I was like 9 or 10, and like how they taught you to do it. I think it was like soldier something airplane, And I'm just saying that to myself while I'm doing it. And I'm just like, whoo, 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 whoo. And I'm doing it, I'm doing it, I'm doing it. And then I like look back and I see I'm just like 15 feet away from the shore. And I'm like, okay, I just need like 3 or 4 good strokes and I'm at the shore. So I do those 3 or 4 strokes. I'm not quite there yet. And I go to stand up and I'm like at fucking nipple height in water. And I just walk to shore. It's like the middle of the woods, like the other side of the lake was. And I'm just like, man, this was such a dumb idea. And I'm cold. The ice cold water's sticking to me and it's weighing me down. And I'm like, fuck, dude, I need to dry off and I need to like warm up. I don't have anything to start a fire. What do I do? So like I just rip off my t-shirt and it's you have you ever had like a wet t-shirt on and you try to take it off and it's just like it's like stuck to you and it just kind of slides off and it's all gross and it's just kind of like a solid thing. And like I just threw it over a tree branch so it could like dry off and like the sun's pouring down on me and I'm just sitting there like, oh, I'm so cold. And like, so I just stood there for a bit, drying off and just waiting. And then, you know what happens? One of my foster brothers shows up on his bike and he's like, yo, dude, what the fuck? Why is your shirt like that? Why are you wet? Like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I just swam across the lake. And he's like, why the fuck did you do that? I was like, because I was hot. He's like, did you realize that the ice just melted like last week? And I was like, no. I thought since it was so hot out, the water would be warmer. And he just called me an idiot, like rightfully so. Because like hindsight's 2020 and thinking about it now, I'm just like, man, I was so dumb. And like, shit, dude, it was like so cold. So I wrung out my shirt and then put it back on. And then we walked over to the other side of the lake and he helped me find my bike. I put my socks on and my shoes. And then we walked our bikes all the way back up to the foster house. And then of course he had to tell the foster parents, and they're like, Bailey, why'd you do that? I was like, what do you want from me, dude? You tell me I can't play video games. You tell me I can't stay in the house where it's cool. You tell me I can't fucking watch TV and it's like hot out. So what did I do? I went outside and I went to the lake and I swam and then I almost drowned. It wasn't fun. They're just like, why did you do this? And I'm like, I don't know, man. Yeah, then after that, I just didn't go to the lake anymore for good reasons. I don't have fond memories of that lake. And did my foster parents heed my warnings and let me did they let me play video games more? Nope. No, they didn't. But that story is for another time. Anyways, guys, thanks so much for listening to my story about how I almost drowned. If you liked this video, leaves a thumbs up. If you disliked this video, then leaves a thumbs down. Dislike it. Leave a comment about what you thought of this story, or if you have any questions. I reply to every comment. And I'll see you guys in the next video. I've been Byron the Dragon King. You guys have a good night. Bye-bye.